Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. So inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, today we are going to start lesson number 20. So we have completed 19 lessons, alhamdulillah, and these lessons starting from 20, in fact from 21 to 31, these are really important lessons. So before we move on, as usual, we will just go through the forms of the verb that we have learned so far. So the first one, that is the standard one, which is fa'ala yaf'alu fi'lan, which is al-masdar. If'al is fi'l al-amr and fi'l al-nahi is la taf'al. And we have learned in the previous lessons like how to make fi'l al-amr and how to make fi'l al-nahi. We have also learned how to make ism al-fa'il, and inshallah today we are going to learn how to make ism al-maf'ul. Al-fa'il means the doer and maf'ul is the object or the receiver of the action. So al-fa'il, we can say active, and al-maf'ul is passive, as we say in English. And that's the first one, the standard one. And after we complete the ismul fa'il and ismul maf'ul from the first form of the verb, which is used like a lot, then we will move on to the form 2, which is sabbaha yusabbihu tasbihan, and fi'l al-amr is sabbih, and fi'l al-nahi is la tusabbih. So what is the difference between the first form and the second form? How do we differentiate, or how do we know that this is verb form number 1 and this is verb form number 2?
The verb form number 2 has tashdid.
Has an extra tashdid on the second root letter. Always it will be on the second root letter of the past. So the addition of tashdid will also change the meaning as well. So the meaning that we used to have in verb form number 1, since there is an addition of tashdid, or there is an addition of something extra, so the meaning will also be extra, so the meaning will also change. Then in the third form of the verb, there is an addition of alif. Yeah, so it's basically jahada, and when we add alif, it becomes jahada, yujahidu, mujahadatan, or jihadan, and fi'l al-amr will be jahid and fi'l al-nahi will be la tujahid. And the fourth one is aslama yuslimu islaman, aslim and la tuslim. So in these three forms of the verb, the mazid fi forms of the verb, which is 2, 3 and 4, what is common? The mudari of all these forms starts with you. The mudari has dhamma. For example, we see here sabbaha yusabbihu, jahada yujahidu, aslama yuslimu. So these three forms are completely different. Otherwise, normally what we have, the mudari starts with fatha. For example, we see here fa'ala yaf'alu, and similarly when we go on to the fifth form of the verb,
تدبر يتدبر.
تدبر يتدبر, it will be the same as fa'ala yaf'alu. That means the fi'l mudari starts with fatha and not with dhamma. Now you might be thinking, like, why do we need to learn and what's the purpose? So first of all, we need to know the forms of the verb. And as we discussed earlier, like every form of the verb has some specific characteristic. Like what happened when the verb was sabaha yasbihu, and it became sabbaha yusabbihu. So what happened, how the meaning changed? So inshallah, once we go through the forms and ismul fa'il and ismul maf'ul, then we discuss the characteristics as well. I told you only one characteristics of tadabbara. Do you remember what is that characteristic? Tadabbara yatadabbaru. The characteristic is when the doer has to put some extra effort to do something. When he has to, and it is like reflexive, like the doer himself has to do something to acquire something. And the best example is, as we can see here, تدبر يتدبر تدبرا تدبر لا تتدبر, as Allah says in the Quran, أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها, that they do not ponder or reflect on the Quran, or do they have locks on their hearts. So tadabbur is something that acquires some effort. Similarly, we have ta'allama, yata'allamu, ta'alluman. Ta'allam means to learn, okay? And we know learning also it requires some effort as well. We cannot like sleep at night and overnight when we wake up, we become alim or sheikh, or we know the Arabic. No, we have to put an extra effort. So that's why it is ta'allama yata'allamu. Similarly, the other three, they have their characteristics as well. So inshallah, we will discuss one by one, but this one is easier and this one is used a lot also. So that's why I told you only about the characteristic of bab number or the form number 5.
Excuse me, Ustad.
Yes.
Yeah, and one more character, this tadabbaru, it has no kasra in it.
Excellent. Yeah, that's like a tip, as we can say. So as we can see here, the first five forms of the verb, for example, the past, tadabbara, and the present, yatadabbaru, and the masdar, tadabburan, and fi'l al-amr, tadabbur, and fi'l al-nahi, la tatadabbur, they do not have kasra. So this is for the sake of memorizing, or for our own reflection, that we want to reflect and we want to memorize. So this is one of the ways to memorize, that the first 5 forms, as we can see here, Madi, Mudare, Masdar, Amr, and Nahi, they do not have kasra. Excellent. So that's like a tip to how to memorize it. All right, so doing, which is our sentence that we are using it, doing, which is failun, doing tasbih and mujahada are from the basics of Islam. So you can see here, we have covered here fail, tasbih, mujahada, and Islam. So we have covered the first 4 forms only in this sentence. And then we continue if we do tadabbur. So if you are able to memorize this sentence, inshallah, you are able to memorize all the 5 forms of the verb. Doing tasbih and mujahada are from the basics of Islam. Sabbaha, jahada, aslama. And if we do tadabbur, which is tadabbara, and then we will continue, inshallah, and we will complete our 10 forms of the verb. All right. In the previous lesson, we learned how to make active particle, or how to make the subject or the doer. Al-fa'il, ismul fa'il. Ismul fa'il means the doer of the action, the one who is performing the action. And we have learned that the doer, from the triliteral verbs, the verbs that have 3 root letters, the doer always consists of 4 letters. The doer always consists of how many letters? 4 letters. And it is very easy to make the doer from the base verb. For example, we have fa'ala, he did. And if you want to make the doer of the action, we will add alif after the first root letter, and then the second root letter takes kasra, and then the ending takes tanween because it's a noun, so it becomes fa'ilun. Fa'ilun means the doer. So fa'ala, he did, and fa'ilun is the doer. Similarly, ja'ala, he made, and ja'ilun, the maker, right? And we have learned many examples. For example, dhakara, dhakirun, sajada, sajidun, qatala, qatilun. So every verb that you learn from the 3 root letters, after the first root letter, put alif, and then the second has kasra, and then the ending has tanween. So it becomes the doer, fa'ilun. For example, from nasara, nasirun, the one who helps, the helper. Daraba, daribun, the one who hits. And the feminine will be fa'ilatun. We know that if we add ta marbuta, it becomes the doer, the feminine doer. So fa'ilun, fa'ilatun, nasirun, nasiratun, the lady who helps. Daribun, daribatun. And similarly, we have samia, he heard, and sami'un, the one who listens or the one who hears. And the feminine will be sami'atun. Fataha, he opened, and fatihun is the opener, and the feminine will be
Fatihatun.
Fatihatun. And the first surah of the Quran is Surah Al-Fatiha, the opener of the Quran. And then we have Malaka, and from Malaka we have Malikun, as we have learned in Surah Al-Fatiha, Maliki Yawmiddin. And it's Maliki because of grammatical reasons, and you know why it is.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Does it mean even if it has harful illa, it's still going to be on that pattern?
Yes, that's right. For the triliteral verbs, the verbs that consist of 3 root letters, whether it has harful illa, or it has tashdid, or it has hamza, all of them will be on the pattern of fa'ilun, on the same pattern. However,
Thank you.
because we know, as we know that huruf al-illa, they change a lot. So there will be slight changes. For example, I will give you one example. For example, qala, he said. The one who says will be qailun. So there is an addition of hamza. Instead of qawilun, there is an addition of hamza. So there will be slight changes, but the pattern will remain the same, which will be fa'ilun. For example, sa'ala, sa'ilun. Sa'ilun, the one who asks. So it's on the pattern of fa'ilun. So the pattern will be the same, the wazn will be the same. However, there will be slight changes in the the way it is made. So there will be some changes as well. But the pattern will remain the same, which is fa'ilun. For example, sa'ilun, qa'ilun, right? So the pattern will be the same. And today we are going to learn how to make Ismul Maf'ul. We have learned how to make the doer. And today, inshallah, we are going to learn how to make passive or the receiver of the action or the object. We know that in language, there are always like 2 types of tenses. One is the active, which is the doer, and one is the passive, which is the receiver of the action, right? So for example, you say, I ate an apple. So I ate an apple. Who is the doer of the action? I. Yes? Akaltu tufahatan. I ate an apple. And if you say the apple was eaten, now what happened? The apple becomes object. And I will say ukila at-tufahatan, and the apple was eaten. So there are 2 ways of making maf'ul in Arabic language. There are 2 ways of making passive. We are learning the first one now, inshallah, and the second one we will learn when we reach book number 3. This is used a lot, that's why we are learning this. And this is much easier than the English language, by the way. In English, we have 12 tenses and we have to learn 12 different ways of making passive. But in Arabic, there are only 2 ways of making passive, and that's it. So the one will always be on the pattern of maf'ulun. So here, it consists of how many letters?
5 letters.
5 letters. And how to make al-maf'ul, or the passive or the receiver of the action? So to the root letters, first of all, we have to add mim with fatha. Mim with fatha. So it is fa'ala. So what we will do, we will put mim before it. It becomes maf. And then the second root letter will always be sakin. And the third one will take dhamma. And after that, we will add waw. And the ending will always be with the tanween. So it will be maf'ulun. So basically, how many letters have been added? Only 2 letters have been added, mim and waw. So mim with fatha, and then after the second root letter, waw will be added. So our maf'ul, yani passive, is ready now. For example, fa'ala, and from the fa'ala, the receiver of the action or the object will be on the pattern of maf'ulun. So the root letters do not change, they remain over there. For example, fa is here, ain is here, and lam is here. So only what happened? Only there is an addition of mim with fatha, and there is an addition of waw. For example, here from Nasara, we have mansurun, mansurun. And we know that before dhamma, before waw, there is always dhamma. So that's easy to remember. So there is an addition of mim with fatha, and there is an addition of waw. And we know that before waw, there has to be dhamma always, as you can see here. So from Nasara, we put mim first, and then before the last letter, we put waw, and it becomes mansurun. Nasara and the receiver of the action will be mansurun. From daraba,
مضروب
madrubun. Sami'a,
مسموع
masmu'un. Fataha,
مفتوح
maftuhun. Something that is open. You will see if you live somewhere in the Middle East, you will see al-babu maftuhun. The door is opened, right? And malaka is mamlukun. Malik is the one who owns, and mamluk is something that has been owned. Now in Surah Fatiha, we have maghdubun, right? غير المغضوب.
مغضوب
Maghdub. So maghdub is on the pattern of maf'ul, the ones who had the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who had the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is maghdub, and that was ghadaba yaghdibu. So ghadib is the one who is angry, and maghdub is the one who received the anger. Yeah, who receives the anger. So that is. So now, alhamdulillah, from Surah Fatiha, we have learned that the doer will be malikun on the pattern of fa'ilun, and the receiver of the action will be maghdubun, which is on the pattern of maf'ulun. Shall I give you a couple of verbs before we move on, so that inshallah you can make yes, okay. So
Yes.
rafa'a,
مرفوع
marfu'. Do you know this word?
Marfu'un.
Have you ever heard this word
Yes.
before? We use it every day. Yeah?
Marfu'.
Marfu', the noun is marfu'. So that means it is in a state of marfu'. Yani it's in the
Raised.
state of,
Okay.
yes, that is marfu'. Now you know it.
Yes.
Okay.
Dhamma.
Then we
Hey.
have, which is dhamma. Okay. What about mansub? Nasaba.
Nasaba.
Yeah,
Nasaba.
mansub. So nasaba, to erect something, like to erect something in the ground, and something that has been erected is mansub. So nasaba, mansubun. And then we have majrurun. Majrurun basically has tashdid. Jarra yujurru, yajurru. Jarra means to drag something. Jarra means to drag something. For example, Jarra al-Kursi, he dragged the chair. So majrurun, something that has been dragged. Dragged. Okay, so the noun, why we say it's majrur? Because it was marfu, and then something came before it and it dragged it and made it majrur. So you say masjidun, but when you say fi, then you say fil masjidi. So what happened? Fi dragged and it made it majrur. So this is what we learn every day. We say mansub, marfu'un, wa mansubun, wa majrurun. All of them are on the pattern of maf'ulun. They are the receiver of the action. All right, so now inshallah, this is how slowly but surely we will get, and this is why I love Arabic, and everyone loves Arabic, because the patterns, if we know the patterns, they are like mathematics, they don't change. Once you learn one word, based on that word, you can make as many as you want. So from Rafa, Marfu, from Nasaba, Mansub, from Jarra, Majrur. Okay. Similarly, we have Taraka, to leave something.
متروك
Matrukun. And in Urdu, we use these words a lot. For example, we say qatala,
مقتول
maqtulun, yeah, qatilan, maqtul. Similarly, sajada,
مسجود
masjudun, right? And similarly, we use this word sajada, masjudun, and similarly, we have many words. For example, khalaqa,
مخلوق
makhluqun. So khaliq is the creator and makhluq is the creation. We are makhluq. Allah is khaliq, right?
No.
All right, alhamdulillah. So, and one more, arafa, to know something. So something that is famous, we say ma'rufun. Ma'rufun, right? So, and that's what we say, ma'ruf is based on from arafa. That's where we learn from. So now, inshallah, as you can see here. Okay. So now we have learned here that from the triliteral verb, please don't forget that we are talking about the verbs that have 3 root letters. So 3 root letter verbs, as we call them, thulathi mujarrad, they have only 3 root letters. So now we have learned how to make active particle and how to make passive particle, how to make doer and the receiver, the subject and the object. So fa'ala is the standard word, standard one, fa'ala. So fa'ala yaf'alu fahuwa fa'ilun, the doer. Fa'ilun wa maf'ulun is the receiver. Similarly, nasara, the doer is nasirun and the receiver is mansurun. Daraba, so the doer is daribun and the receiver is madrubun. Samia, the one who listens sami'un, and the one that is heard is masmu'un. For example, you say, Al-Ustad, sawtak ghayr masmu', yani we cannot hear your voice. So ghayr masmu' is something that cannot be heard. Masmu' is something that can be heard. And for the audio, the word masmu' is used for the audio in Arabic language. When we have the audios, that is called masmu'. Fataha, fatihun, and maftuhun, the opener and something that is opened. Al-babu maftuhun. So now you know that when we say al-babu maftuhun, why we say, because it is in the state of being opened. And similarly, we have malikun and mamlukun, the owner and something that has been owned. All right, alhamdulillah. So now we move on to the handouts. Very easy lesson for today, inshallah. I'm sure that you went through the handouts. If not, this is, I think, one of the easiest lessons. It's why it's easier, because after that, inshallah, we are going to have some challenging lessons. Okay, if you remember, like long back in the beginning, we learned about the dual for the noun, and we learned that the dual comes on the sound of ani, aini, ani, aini. Do you remember that? For example, we say kitabun, one kitab, kitabani, kitabaini, qalamun, qalamani, qalamaini, muslimun, muslimani, muslimaini. Okay, now we have muslim, yes, and then if we have muslimatun, we say muslimatani, muslimataini. If we have kalimatun, kalimatani, kalimataini. Siyaratun, siyaratun, Sayyarataini. Excellent. Okay, so ani, aini, aini. So it's very simple. When you hear the sound of ani, that means the noun is in the state of doer. Ani sound is for the doer. Aini is the sound of the receiver. Again, ani is the sound of the doer, and aini is the sound of the receiver, or it is the sound of the noun which is majroor. So whenever you hear the sound ani, which that means this is the doer. And when you hear the sound of aini, aini, that means it is in the place of receiver, or it is in the place of majroor. How? Let's see here. For example, you say, I have two brothers. So you say, li akhawani, I have two brothers. What kind of sentence is this? Verbal sentence or nominal sentence? Jumla ismiya or fi'liya?
Ismiya.
Ismiya, okay. We know that ismiya, nominal sentence, consists of two parts, subject and predicate, mubtada and khabar. Where is mubtada and where is khabar?
Akhawani is mubtada.
Akhawani
Is mubtada, and li is khabar, which is jar majroor, because we know that jar majroor will never ever be the subject. It will never ever be the subject. It will always be predicate, whether it comes in the beginning of the sentence or it comes as predicate. So we know that subject is always marfu'. Subject is always marfu'. That's why we can see here that akhawani is the subject and li is the predicate. Li akhawani, I have two brothers. Fi bayti ghurfatani kabiratani. There are two large rooms in my house. Again, fi bayti is mubtada, and ghurfatani, sorry, it's khabar, and ghurfatani kabiratani is the mubtada. Again, we know that fi bayti is jar majroor, and jar majroor will never ever be subject. It will always be predicate. What do we call it? Do you remember the term that we use? Mubtada muakhar, khabar, muqaddam. Okay, muakhar and muqaddam. So these are also from the second verb form, which is akhara yuakhiru ta'khiran, to make someone late, and qaddama yuqaddimu taqdeeman, to bring someone forward. So that's why we say muqaddam and muakhar.
Is it a verbal sentence or a nominal sentence?
Fi bayti ghurfatani kabiratani. Is it a verbal sentence or a nominal sentence? There is no verb in here.
Nominal.
It's a nominal sentence. Verbal sentence always starts with the verb, or it has the verb. If it doesn't have a verb, then it is a nominal sentence. All right. So let's go over here and see Aina al-Mudarrisu, where is the teacher? Aina, we can say Aina is subject and al-Mudarrisu is predicate or vice versa. Both of them are possible. Sa'altu al-Mudarrisa. Now why it is al-Mudarrisa?
مفعول به.
Maf'ul bihi, excellent. And qultu lil mudarrisi, I spoke to the teacher or I said to the teacher. Why it is lil mudarrisi? Because of harf jar. All right. So now we know that the noun will be marfu when it is subject or predicate, and when it is maf'ul bihi, it will be mansub, and when it comes after the harf jar or mudaf layh, it will be majroor. Now see here, hadani riyalani. These are 2 riyals. Hadani is subject and riyalani is predicate. If you remember, we learned that the subject and predicate will be equal in number and gender. They will be equal in number and gender. We have already learned hada and hadihi, but we are learning now hadani, that means 2, which is the dual of hada. Hadani riyalani, these are 2 riyals. And then if you say uridu, now you have to say riyalaini. Why we have to say riyalaini? Because I told you that riyalani is always in the place of marfu', whereas riyalaini will be in the place of mansub. Aini sound will be mansub. So uridu is the subject and the verb, and riyalaini is maf'ul bihi, and we know that maf'ul bihi is always mansub. So that's why it is riyalaini. Uridu riyalaini, I want 2 riyals. Ishtaraytuhu bi riyalaini, I bought it for 2 riyals. Now it is riyalaini. Why it is riyalaini? Because it has harf jar before it. So here it is majroor. So whether it is mansub or majroor, it will be on the pattern of or on the sound of aini. Ani for the doer or for the subject, and aini will be in the place of object, or it will be in the place of majroor. Similarly, you can see here, qara'tu kitabaini, I read 2 books. Raja'tu ba'da yawmaini. Ba'da, we know that this is always used as mudaf, so that the noun that comes after it will be mudaf ilayh. I returned after 2 days. Ja'a mudarrisani jadidani. Okay, now why do we have mudarrisani jadidani here? Marfu'.
They are the
Yeah,
five.
but why they are marfu'? Yani? It's a verbal sentence, right? It starts with verb. Verbal sentence consists of minimum 2 parts, verb and the doer, the subject. So verb is ja, which is the verb, and then the doer is marfu. We know that the subject is always marfu. The subject, the doer is always marfu. So that's why we say ja'a mudarrisani jadidani, 2 new teachers came. Ja'a mudarrisani jadidani. For example, it's the same. For example, you say Ja'a Bilalun. Bilal came. So when you say Ja'a Bilalun, Bilalun is marfu, mansub, or majroor?
Marfu.
Marfu. Why is that?
Fa'il.
Fa'il, the doer. So doer will always be marfu. And we know that when we talk about the dual sound, for the doer will always be on the wazn of ani, as we can see here. So Ja'a mudarrisani jadidani, 2 new teachers came. All right. And سمعت هذا الخبر من إذاعتين. I heard this news from 2 radio stations. So here من إذاعتين is majroor because it has come after the harf jar, which is min. And then we have here أحدهما والآخر. أحدهما, one of them, and آخر is the other, as we have learned earlier in the previous lessons. So what do you reckon that what we are learning in this lesson? We are learning about the use of dual. The dual, right? Because in English we don't have dual, we have singular and plural, but in Arabic we have singular, which is mufrad, and then we have dual, muthanna, and then we have jam, which is plural. So in this lesson we are learning the use of dual, which we have discussed many times, inshallah, and I believe that discussion will help you a lot, and this lesson will be easy for you to understand now. Li akhawani, I have 2 brothers. أحدهما طبيب والآخر مهندس. One of them is a doctor and the other is an engineer. Yeah, that's right. Okay, any sound. For the feminine, we know that ahadun is used for the masculine and ihda is used for the feminine. And we know that alif maqsura, when we connect it with the attached pronouns, it changes into the normal alif. So as you can hear, it has become ihdahuma. We cannot put alif maqsura here, that's not possible. So what we have to put over here, alif, and it has become ihdahuma wal ukhra. We know that the feminine of akharu is ukhra. We have learned it before. Li ukhtani, I have two sisters. إحداهما مدرسة, one of them is a teacher, والأخرى ممرضة, and the second one is a nurse. ذو وجهين vocabulary, I hope you went through it, but if not, hypocrite, or the literally person who has two faces. Mushtun is used for calm, and the plural is amshatun. Junayhun is used for pound, used in the UK, or I think also in Egypt. As-Siratu, the biography of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Tafsirun, commentary of the Quran. Dhabaha yadbahu dhabhan, to slaughter. Okay, if we take this dhabaha yadbahu dhabhan into the second form of the verb, which is taf'il, it becomes
Dabbaha.
dhabbaha yadabbihu
Zabbaha.
Zabihan.
Yes, so ذبح يذبح تذبيحا. That means to massacre.
Intensity.
So yeah, intensity there. So one of the features of the taf'il is it shows intensity. So it's like it's not just normal slaughter, it's something you are chopping someone into pieces. Similarly, we say قتل يقتل قتلا, to kill someone. قتل يقتل تقتيلا, to kill someone mercilessly. Kill him like in a very merciless way. So that is one of the characteristics of Bab 2 is it shows intensity. Mir'atun. Mir'atun, mirror. Okay, can you figure out what pattern is it on?
Mif'alun.
Mif'alun.
La? Is it mif'alun or mif'alun, right? On the pattern of miftahun, right?
Yes.
On the pattern of miftahun, mif'alun. So that means this is Ismul ala. Ismul ala, which is noun of instrument. Yeah, it's an instrument as well. So mir'atun, this is basically, it has been made from the verb ra'a, yara. So from yara, inshallah, this is the weak verbs when they come over there, then some changes take place. So this is basically from yara, to see something, and from there it is mir'atun, and the plural is maraya, mirrors. Mufidun, useful. Zirrun is used for button, and the plural is azrarun. Lissun, thief, and lususun. Mikhaddatun, pillow, and the plural is makhaddu. Why it has dhamma only? Why there is no tanween? Try to figure out.
Because it has alif before it, Ustad.
Mamnu min as-sarf. Listen, when we don't see tanween, that means it is mamnu min as-sarf. Why it is mamnu min as-sarf? Basically, it is on the pattern of mafa'ilu. Mafa'ilu. So when and inshallah again, when we have the tashdid, which is like we have learned, and inshallah we will learn in the next lessons, that the verbs that have tashdid, so the pattern will be the same, but some changes will take place. So it was mafa'ilu, but it has become mafa'ilu, which is makhaddu. So that's why it is mamnu min as-sarf. So the thing that you need to remember, it is on the pattern of mafa'ilu. So that's why it is mamnu min as-sarf. Sharaha yashrahu sharhan, to explain something. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
What's the difference between mikhadatun and kisul wadi? Kisul wasadata.
Wisadatun is also used for like, wisadatun is used for the pillows that we use like on the couches, the small pillows that we use on the sofas or the couches. Whereas Mikhaddatun is the one that we normally use for sleeping pillow. That is called mikhaddatun,
Okay.
sleeping pillow. So inshallah, today's lesson is easier. So shall we proceed to the lesson? Are you ready, or is it a lot of information already?
I think we should proceed to the lesson.
All right. So today's lesson is very short. It's a brief lesson, much easier, inshallah. And we can do it faster, let's say, inshallah, in a matter of 10 minutes, and we are done, inshallah. Ad-darsu al-ishruna. So we have reached into the uqud. You remember uqud, the decades? Ashruna wa thalathuna wa arba'una wa khamsuna. So alhamdulillah, we have got into the decades, which is called ishrun. Ad-darsu al-ishruna. Lesson number 20. Al-ab. So there is a father,
Can I
and then
read?
there is Bashir. Yes.
Okay. كم سورة حفظت يا بشير؟
How many
Surahs have you memorized?
have you memorized?
Bashir.
Oh, Bashir. Okay. Kam suratan. Do you remember the use of kam? After kam, the noun is always do you
Mansub
remember?
and
Mansub
Mansuban.
and nakira, right? And singular, if you remember. Yeah. So it's nakira. Normally it's nakira.
Yes,
It
yes,
is
yes.
mansub and it is singular. Kam suratan, as you see here. Kam suratan hafizta ya Bashiru.
Yes.
How many surahs have you memorized, oh Bashir? Yes, Bashirun.
حفظت
حفظت سورة واحدة.
Okay, حفظت سورة واحدة. I have
I
memorized
memorized
only one surah,
surah.
right? So suratan will be one surah, but when you say suratan wahidatan, that means only one surah. So I have memorized only one surah, which is the chapter of the Quran. Yes. Taha, are you there? Who is going to read? Whoever wants to read can read.
Yeah, okay. وكم سورة حفظت يا عمرو؟ يا عمرو.
Umaru.
يا عمر, sorry.
Okay. And how many
And
surahs?
how many surahs have you memorized, O Umar?
Oh, Umar. Okay. Yes, Umar.
أنا
أنا
حفظت
حفظت
Suratain.
سورة
One by one, brothers and sisters. Yes, Ana hafidtu surataini. I have memorized two surahs.
Two
Okay. Why suratain? Why not suratan?
حفظت
because it's maful bi.
Maful bihi. Yes, hafidtu. After that we
Yeah,
have
مفعول به.
maful bihi. So it has to be suratain. Hafidtu surataini. I have memorized two surahs. Now we have Muawiyah. So Muawiyah, maybe someone else can be Muawiyah now. Yes.
يا أبتي جاء اليوم مدرسان جديدان أحدهما للفقه والآخر للحديث. Oh, my father, I جاء اليوم on that day
Today, two new teachers came today.
اليوم
Al-Yawma today.
اليوم today. Yes, today two new teachers came. One of them is for fiqh and the other is for hadith.
For a hadith. Okay. Yes. Bashirun.
بشير أخي يا أبتي قرأت اليوم كلمتين جديدتين في هذا الكتاب.
Okay.
ما هما؟
Today I have learned, or I have studied, or I have read two new lessons in two new words, kalimatain jadidatain, two new words in this kitab. Okay. Alab, ma
ما
huma.
هما?
What
are they?
are they? Bashirun says this brother has like problem with the internet. Huma al-mushtu wal-mikhaddatu. They are comb and pillow. The comb and the pillow, or comb or pillow. Huma is used for what? Is used for
Dual.
the dual. And the example, if you remember in long back, we learned is Rabbirhamhuma كما ربياني صغيرا. Yes, that's the best example. Both for learning and also to make dua for our parents. Yes. Alabu, عرفت معناهما? Did you know the meaning of these two words? عرفت? You knew, right? عرفت معناهما? Did you know the meaning of these two words? Yes, Bashirun?
Can you hear me? نعم سألت المدرس فشرح لي معناهما. I asked the teacher and he explained the meanings.
سألت
مدرسة.
مدرس.
لا
Okay,
مدرسة.
المدرسة. Yes.
Because
مفعول به.
سألت after this is fail and file together, and then the مفعول به will be always مفتوح or it will be منصوب.
منصوب.
So نعم, yes, سألت المدرسة, I asked the teacher, فشرح لي معناهما, and he explained to me the meaning of both of them. معناهما, the meaning of both of them, that means the meaning of those two words. Alab? Yes.
أنا الآن أذهب إلى السوق. أتريدون شيئا؟ Right now I am going to the market. أتريدون همزة الاستفهام تريدون. Do you need something, all of you?
Yes. عمر أريد دفترا. Yes, I
أريد
want
دفترا.
a notebook.
We need notebooks.
Yes.
I need it.
Okay, yes, so someone, yeah, one by one, please. Yes, معاوية.
عندي دفتران وأريد دفترين آخرين. I have 2 notebooks and I want 2 more notebooks.
Okay,
2 more.
دفترين آخرين. We need
آخرين. Yes.
آخر means other, and آخر means it's used for the end, which is آخرة. So from آخرة we can remember, which is آخر will be the ending of something, yeah, the last. So أريد دفترين آخرين, and I want two more or 2 other notebooks. Yes, Bashirun.
عندي ملفان صغيران.
وأريد ملفين كبيرين.
أريد ملفين. Okay, I have. Yes.
Files, Ustad?
Yes. عندي ملفان صغيران. I have 2 small files. وأريد ملفين كبيرين, and I want 2 big files. Okay. So here we have ملفان صغيران, and here we have ملفين كبيرين. Why is that?
Because here
this is a nominal sentence.
This is a nominal sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
This is a
ملفان صغيران.
خبر مقدم and
مبتدا
مبتدا مؤخر.
Yes, مبتدا مؤخر and خبر مقدم. So that's why, or we can simply say that ملفان صغيران is subject, مبتدا, and hindi is predicate. Yeah, and we know that subject is always مرفوع. And وأريد, now this is a verbal sentence, and أريد means I want, so it is both verb and file. So that's why مفعول به is ملفين كبيرين, and I want 2 big files. Okay. Alab.
من أين لك هذا القلم الجميل ذو اللونين يا بشير? From where did you get this beautiful pen that has 2 colors, O Bashir?
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so ذو اللونين. اللونين. Why it is majroor? Why is
because
that?
it is مضاف إليه. Always after zu there is مضاف إليه construction.
It will be always مضاف إليه. من أين لك هذا القلم الجميل? Where did you get this beautiful pen from? ذو اللونين يا بشير, with 2 colors, O Bashir. Bashir says
اشتريته.
I bought it. Yes. Al-ab become
اشتريته.
Okay, become. Okay, now there is a slight change, or there is one more rule of connecting meme with the word that has Hamzat al-Wasl.
Sukun.
We have learned, Sukun or Hamzat al-Wasl. We have learned that meme, when we connect it with Dhamma. For example,
Dhamma.
Humul muflihun, if you remember the example, yeah? Humul muflihun, okay? But this is one exception. Whenever it is with become, it will be connected with kasra. So it will be become ishtaraytahu.
Become Mr.
Yeah, so please note it down.
Ishtaraytahu.
Yeah, so how much did you buy it for? So when it comes with become, then it comes with kasra and not with dhamma. It is not become ishtaraytahu.
Because there it was whom had ha had dhamma, Ustad. Where the previous ha had dhamma, so meme also we made it dhamma. But here it is fathat, so the kasra would be appropriate here, Ustad.
Yeah, according to, because these are the vowel endings and suitable vowel endings, which is the sound of the verb or the word as well. So according to the sound, but the rule was that we learned that after on meme sakin, when we connected with dhamma, yeah. But when we use the word become and when we connect it with kasra. This is, you can take it as an exception so that we don't, the main rule is the important one. This is not the most important of the rules, but
Okay,
still
Ustad.
it exists in the Arabic language. Bashiran, ishtaraytuhu biriyalaini. I bought it for 2 riyals. Yeah, biriyalaini, so that's why it is biriyalaini. It is jar majroor, so that's why it is the sound of aini. All right, so it was an easy lesson, hopefully, inshallah, but the information that we discussed in the beginning, the use, how to make ismul fa'il, ismul maf'ul, inshallah, that will help us a lot. And when we proceed into the next lessons, then we will get into the weak verbs that are weak, but they are also a little bit tricky and they change a lot. So inshallah, we will be able to learn them as well. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Jazakallah khairan kaseeran.
Exactly.
Wa iyyakum.